All right, so today we're going to cover the home buying and selling process. So when you go under contract, we're going to go over the dates you need to be aware of and kind of the process, how it works for a buyer and a seller. Okay, we're going to go both sides of it. So we're going to start, if I can get to go, with the buying process for a buyer. So of course you need the client. Once you get a client, you should send them about 15 to 20 different properties to look at. And then you tell them to pick their top 5 or 6 and do their due diligence, and they need to drive around the neighborhood and see which home they like the best. Don't just try to make sure they do that actual, that's a very important step, because a lot of times you'll drive up to a home showing homes and they'll drive up and, oh, I hate this neighborhood. Don't even get out of the car. And if they already do that ahead of time, they can get rid of those areas like that for you. They need to do some homework too. And then I show them, what I do is I show them the homes. I have all the quick prints printed off from the MLS, and I have them pick a number from 1 to 10. And I always tell them that, hey, if it's 8.5 or higher, that means you want to buy this home right now. We're going to quit showing. So that way, if everyone gives the homes like a 3, you know that you totally blew it and you have crazy homes, or these people are not, they always say, a coffee budget with a champagne taste. That's where they are right there, if that's the issue. Or if they all want every home as a 10 and they want to see them all anyway and they want to give them all a 10, then they're going to have to make some choices. So that's kind of the best one. So then you go ahead and you put the offer on that. So once the offer is accepted by the seller, and of course it's executed when the last person signs, and when it means it's executed, then I always tell my clients, okay, you're going to be super busy for the first 10 days or so, and then it's going to slow down. You're not going to hear from me very much. I'm going to be doing all my realtor stuff in the background. And then about a week and a half or a week before the contract ends, I'm going to be bothering you all over again a lot. So they kind of have a good idea of what's happening. Because once you're out of option period, a lot of times you're waiting for the lender, you're ordering documents, the title company's finishing up. There's not a lot for an agent to do sometimes. You have a lot in the beginning and a lot at the end. So that's when I kind of do that. And then of course you have from when the last person signs, you have 3 days from that point to get the option and earnest money in now. Now title can now receive both, which they couldn't before, so it's nice that they can do both now. So if the third day ends on a Sunday or a Sunday, or if Monday's a holiday, then you don't have to use those days. You can still be okay. And then of course your option period, whatever the time is, you have till 5 p.m. of that day to get the period when it's over. So I always say when you do the inspection during this option period, you look for the big 5: the roof, plumbing, HVAC, and the heating, electrical, and foundation. If it's not one of those big 5 and it's not like a serious issue, of course, if you have water leaking, that's under plumbing. Anything major would be under those big 5 probably. Unless they had like a fireplace that's falling over, that might be something different. And then usually anything else is a honey-do list. So then you get the repair amendment done and you get everything signed, and the repairs have to be done before the end of, not the end of the option period, but the end of the contract, before closing. So you have to have the amendment signed before option period, but the repairs don't need to be done until right before closing. So again, during that option period, 10 days or whatever days it is, the buyer can quit the contract for any reason and they get their earnest money back. They will lose their option funds. And then make sure your client knows that they have to get all their docs to their lender during the option period. I tell people when you're in the option period, you have 5 days starting right now to get your documents over as quick as you can to the lender. If you can get the lenders the documents within 5 days, you can close within 30 days usually. Unless they're already pre-approved, which is best, then they're already approved and they already have the documents. Okay, and then of course once the loan is done, you're going to wait for the repairs and everything once you're out of the option period. About 4 or 5 days before closing, business days, you want to reach out to the lender and make sure the closing disclosure is done and it's going to be done on time. So if you're closing on a Friday, if you put the CD out, the closing disclosure on Monday, that's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they could close Thursday or Friday. So just kind of keep that in mind. A week, so if you're closing on a Friday, and try not to close on Fridays. Try to pick like a Thursday, a Wednesday, or Thursday to close. That way, if anything acts funky or you get any hiccups, you still have a day to catch up, because people always want to close on Friday to move that weekend, of course. So this way, you give yourself a day or two leeway on a Wednesday or Thursday, so if anything gets a hiccup in the loan, you can push it back for a day or two and it's not going to wreck their weekend, because they probably have already reserved moving trucks and everything else. All right, so then you make sure at this time, not only do you have the CD done, but you also make sure that the client has the wiring instructions and everything's ready to go that way. And then at this point, I usually wait about a week before closing, and then I order the home warranty. Use any home warranty company you like. There we'll put a list of them out later. And then the day before closing, if it's a late closing, you can do it in the morning before closing. Go ahead and do the walkthrough. By now, you should obviously have the receipt of all the repairs that were done, because the repairs are going to be done by licensed individuals. It can't be done by the seller or the agent. It has to be done by someone who actually has a license, and they're licensed in that, the issue that's being repaired. And then you should go through and make sure all that's done. Make sure if they promise to leave the fridge, anything like that, that's in there. And then closing is going to be the next day. So then you go and you close. Now on the listing, of course, you get a client, and then you go and you get to do the listing presentation and get the listing. And once you secure the listing, you want to make sure you have all the paperwork done before it goes active. This is really important in a listing. Make sure you have the seller's disclosure, the lead paint addendum. Make sure they have a copy of the survey. If they have one, make sure you have a copy of it. If you do an oak wilt, make sure you have that one as well. Also, if you need anything else like the T47, any other documents that you need for that client, if it's a farm and ranch, you're going to get a sewer. If they have a well, a sewer, you'll have all those documents in there. Have all those ready before the listing goes live. That'll protect your client. Okay, so make sure they're all under additional documents in your MLS. And then I always put in to make sure that the seller's disclosure survey, all that, should be signed and presented with the offer. This is a way that you can know who is really reading the instructions. With the crazy market we're in, a lot of people will just send in an offer and say, here's my offer, and they'll put the price, any seller concessions, and nothing else will be filled out. They won't sign the seller's disclosure. Nothing else will be done. So if that's the kind of offer if the agents are too lazy to do anything else, those aren't the agents you probably want to work with anyway. So that way, if you have multiple offers, like a lot of them are these days, you can kind of know who you want to work with. And then once you're under contract, of course, you make sure that the option and earnest money are within 3 days. And then you wait for the buyers. A lot of times on the seller side, it's a lot of work up front. You get the listing, you get all the documents, you get pictures, you get everything loaded, and then it's active, and at that point, you're waiting. And then you get the inspection, you work out any repairs, and then you have till the end of the contract again to get the repairs done. Make sure the house is ready for the people on the final walkthrough. If you have to pay out of your own pocket $100 or so to get a cleaning company to come in there, do it. It's definitely worth it. Make sure the house is very presentable and ready to go. Okay, so that's it for that. I wanted to show you this. I also have in there a seller dates. So these are buyer dates. So let's say you went under contract today. Let's say it's like 10/28/2021. And say that was your date. Of course, now it's not feeding through the different dates. There should be a plus B3. Oh, I put the wrong date. That's why. 10/21/2021. So if you put in a date in there, you can see it automatically adjusts to let you know when everything should be done. So here's earnest money, option, inspection ordered, repair dates, option. If you have a TC, this is when the TC would take over. Make sure you have all docs, the title, the home warranty ordered, the final walkthrough, everything. And tells you exactly what to do every date to get everything done to hit your hit points. Now say this got pushed till the 30th, for example, then all you would do is come in here and change the close date, and it would change those last dates for you. And then that way you know what time your that last week of time is. Now if you're on the seller side, it's the same way. You're just going to change it. Let's say we're at 21 again. And all it do is change the dates for you. So all this information is in that bootcamp information, guys. And this goes over how to follow it. And then you can go through and track it and see what has to be done. And you'll know the dates exactly you need to cover.